Welcome back. It is another Wednesday. It is 11 a.m. Eastern time, which means that it is time for another WDD Live Web Design for Dummies. When you arrive, say hi in the chat. Let me know you're here. We've got Stripe Goat in the house already. Melvin, Vit, Asara. I think it's Asara. Is that the right pronunciation? Asara. TIR, Tommy's here. We've already got questions flowing in. This is fantastic. All right, there's somebody in the chat named me. That's a little confusing. Throwing me off. All right, oh dear. We should have refilled the water before WDD Live actually went live. Calisthenics Ireland is here. Gary's about to smash it once again. I can't wait for Kevin to turn up and start speaking hardcore truth 15 minutes into the live. 15 minutes, that's a long time. Might happen sooner than that. We'll see. Charlie's here. Kareem is here. And yes, we are looking good today. Michelle, what's up? Leonardo, Andreas here. Pedro's here. All right, Suzanne's here. We are flowing in. Let's just update everybody on what we're doing here. We had a WDD Live last Friday, but the normal day is Wednesday. The normal time is 11 a.m., and we should get some other viewers coming in here as YouTube sends out the notifications. What we do is deep dive web design critiques. We talk about everything that makes a website successful. We talk about the copywriting. We talk about the design, obviously, the user experience. We talk about SEO. We talk about content. We talk about everything that goes into making the website successful. We also do things like look at the DOM. That's why it's called Web Design for Dummies. We see what the underlying code is like, how much quality is there. We talk about scalability and maintainability, best practices, accessibility, lots of stuff. And so that's what makes this kind of thing so valuable. Plus, everybody in the chat, you guys get to participate in WDD Live. You get to put your own thoughts of the website that we're looking at into the chat. And the person that who built the site is getting a lot of value by reading the comments and listening to the content on the actual stream. And you get to ask questions as well. And what we'll do is after we typically do 1 to 2 websites, we're just going to do one website today because there's been a lot of Q&A lately. And I have not had time to get to all of the questions on every stream. People's questions get left out. And so I've been giving extra time to Q&A lately. If there's not a lot of questions, then the next stream we'll do 2 website reviews. Whatever it takes. We also can do mini tutorials. So sometimes people ask a question like, hey, how would you go about doing this or that? And if it's not, too complicated and in-depth, we can pull up a dev install and we can actually do a mini tutorial live on the spot. So don't be afraid to ask those kinds of questions as well. All right, Derek's here, Edward's here, Netrunner is here, Dean is here. What is up, everybody? Tyree. Absolutely. You are welcome for the help yesterday. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into the first website. I don't really have much in the way of announcements. The only big announcement that I have is I did just get the redesign for the automatic CSS website back. It's a banger of a redesign. And development is getting started like ASAP. We're getting started on development ASAP. The automatic CSS website is the same website. It's like the very first version of it that I ever created, and it's just kind of been sitting there because I didn't really need it all that much. It just has to convey the basics and allow people to sign up. They get sold elsewhere. They get sold on videos and referrals and all this other stuff. But it's time. It's time. It needs to go to the next level now. And so we got the new design back. It's fantastic, and I can't wait to get started on development. And I can't wait for you guys to see it as soon as it is done and ready to go, which it won't be too long. It won't be too long. Okay, so get excited about that. Get excited. And then maybe we'll just do it on WDD Live. We'll pull it up. We'll go through it together on WDD Live. It's going to have some really cool features. We're going to have some fun with this. We're going to have some fun with it. Okay. Let's go ahead and share the screen. No sneak peeks. No sneak peeks of that one. No. Okay, you just gotta wait. Because it's gotta have a good unveiling, No sneak peeks to that one. All right, let's go ahead and share the screen. This is our first and only website that we're gonna be doing today on the deep dive. This has been, just full disclosure, this has been translated from Polish to English by Google Chrome, which never does a fantastic job. So we can't do a lot on the copywriting whenever we do a translation. It's not fair to the site, really, because it's like, I don't even know if it translated it properly. So, we could talk about the copy narrative in general, but, we can't really get too specific on this. Julia says, where is Bev tonight? I don't know. I don't know. Bev is always lurking in the shadows. She could pop out at any moment. You never know when Bev is gonna show up, or call, or text, or anything else. So, but I think Bev is a little busy right now. I just saw in the admin bar, Kyle made a post about, his client blowing up a website. And I think Bev is over there. Bev is Bev is hitting up Kyle right now. So I don't think she's going to bother us. That's the good news. All right, so we have, I guess we're doing our no scroll test. That's how we start every deep dive critique, is we don't scroll around the site. We just see what we see when it first loads. And so we have a logo, which is in Polish. And it obviously doesn't translate because that is text in an image. So I don't really know what this is. I'm getting the vibe that obviously I see runners. And they're racing. They've got the little racing tag on. And it says our runs. So maybe this is like, here, join our community of runners, meet new people, and break new records. So yeah, it has kind of like a club vibe, like a running club or something like that. I guess it's just just a community of runners. Is it not a business? I don't know. Are we trying to monetize this? I guess we're going to have to find out. Or is this, just the online, I don't know. We're going to have to see. Can anybody join this club? Is it a worldwide community? Is it a Polish community? I think we need a little bit more specificity here. Might help, right? Because this is, there's a lot of online running communities, and they try to attract people from all over the world. This one feels just very, very localized to me. And so I think maybe a little specificity in the copy right here of like where this club exists, and who can join it, so on and so forth. Because it has a registration. It looks to me like, all right, okay, this is a third-party website. So immediately we're gone. We're off the website. We're over here. Let me translate some of this and see what's going on. Okay. All right. So gotta be in this location to participate. Got it. All right. Let's go back. All right. Let's start scrolling around. Just general design. It's very basic, right? It's very just like, okay, there's a little background gradient action. We've got a couple sections of content. No problem whatsoever. What do you guys think off the bat? Like just general vibe. It just feels very basic, right? Feels very basic. I think right here, I'm just gonna have to say it. I think that logo should be smaller. It's too big. It's too big for the space that it's in. It's crowding. There's no top and bottom padding much anymore. And look how it puts a lot of white space around the actual navigation. So I'm a fan right here of the logo should be smaller. Okay. Let's go down a little bit. Our runs. These look like past events. Yeah? Or no, these are upcoming events. Okay. I would say like up and coming runs. Or really like events. Just call them events. I don't know. 5th night run of St. Kinga. Okay, let's click on one of these. Do these take me to a third-party website as well? No. I'm still on the website now. Okay. And this one I can't register for. There's no CTA to, whoa, these are clickable? Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay, we're into a PDF now. Let's go down gallery. What does this do? Oh, now I'm off into another page. All right, wait a minute. This is so these must be past photos of past events from this. Yes, let's go back and translate it. It's a little, let's just kind of think about the user experience that I'm having right now. Lots of tabs, Lots of take me other places kind of thing happening. Where does movies take me? This is fun. It's like, what's behind door number 3? Okay, so we've got some videos there. Doesn't this feel like, another one. Now I'm off to a different site. Okay. And now what am I looking at here? Results. Okay, well, this is interesting. I didn't think this run happened yet. I'm confused. I'm just lost. Okay, let's close that tab. All right, results. These must be past results, past events. I don't know. All right, here's the route. At least that one opened in a light box. So, it didn't take me somewhere else. Okay, here's the poster. Great, fantastic. Oh, that one already happened. That was the past. Okay, so see, this is confusing. I'm saying, here's the future. This is the future. I didn't look at the date here. I saw these dates, and I assumed they were all coming up in the future. But this is a past event. So that's a little confusing. And you can solve this really by just a little bit of logic where it's like, hey, check the date. If the date is in the past, remove it from this grid. And that's why I also say, with this heading right here, say, hey, this is these are up and coming runs. And then have a section for our past events. And you could kind of really separate those out. But you definitely, see, I got confused immediately right off the bat because my eyes saw these because these are in the middle of the screen, right? So, and I just made a quick glance at like, are these in the past or the future? Okay. And my brain was like, these are in the future. Then I actually clicked on this one, but I didn't look at the date when I clicked on it. And so now it's in the past. So what happens? How is the page different if the run is in the future? Okay. Well, there's still some things. There's still galleries. There's still results, it looks like. Okay. Can you stick to translating this, please? Yeah. So, yeah. This is just a, hey, let's just, how can we lose the visitor? This is a recipe on how to lose the visitor. Every time I go back, okay, no, it's good. All right. I don't know what 5th edition is or 6th edition. This must be the past run. I know they call these editions. I don't know how you Polish people are describing your things here. So 5th and 6th. So 6th is the upcoming. 5th is the previous. Wouldn't it be very helpful here to have some reference points with our copy? Like 6th edition, would it kill you to put the date of this run coming up, right? And so 5th edition, the date of the run that the 5th edition happened, like that would give me immediate like context as to what is going on here. So, you've put these links on the side, which again, we got to talk about this layout maybe as well. I mean, look at, how do I get no, I don't want to take a screenshot of that. Let's bring up this. Nope, that's the wrong thing. Okay, annotate, here we go. All right, check all this emptiness out, right? We've chosen a card layout where it's a media on the left and then options on the right. But the problem with this layout is when there's only 2 options, this is what you're left with. You're left with a giant gap in the design. It just doesn't look very good. I would also think about maybe centering these down so they're vertically centered with the media. But if you're going to only have 2 things next to a media, it's just, you're always going to have a ton of white space. I think, 6th edition, 5th edition, they could have gone inside of the card itself, maybe have a little description of the event. I don't know. There could be more done here to just kind of, the layout just feels a little bit all over the place. And then obviously when you have missing details, you just have giant gaps in the design. It's also a little odd to me that the breadcrumb is floating off to the right over here, aside from the main heading. Usually you see that breadcrumb above, and then you have the main heading. If that breadcrumb gets really long, I'm curious as to like what's going to happen with it. Is it going to break to multiple lines? That's just going to be really weird. I would move that breadcrumb up here. What is this built on, by the way? Let's see. Oh, oof. Oh, no. Okay. No. I get it. It's a popular builder. Okay. But yes, Elementor. All right. I have trouble saying it sometimes. Okay. So, yeah, I feel like this all could be rethought. I mean, let's think about this. I am asking to see details on a run. So I click on it, right? All of this stuff right here. Why have the page? This is a dedicated page for this run, okay? Why have all this stuff on other pages? Find a way to, I get the results. It's like, this is by a third-party system, but the gallery, just show me the gallery. Just put it on the page. You already gave me there's a template for this page, but you've chosen not to put things on this page. Like, now you're making me go elsewhere, and I don't even know, honestly, where the heck I am. Where am I in this site? Where am I? Is this just a one-off page that has a gallery of photos on it? Let me translate this again. Why does it not remember that I want it translated? Okay. All right. So we're going down to, oh my gosh. Oh dear. Look at this. Look at this scroll bar. Woo! There's like a gazillion photos. Thankfully, they're lazy loaded. Okay. Can I open in a modal? Yes. All right. Okay, got some general scroll here. I wonder if any of this is accessible. Let's do a quick accessibility check. Oh, no, hold on. I'm hitting tap. Yeah, you can see down here. See down in the bottom left-hand corner. Watch. See, it is navigating through things, but I have no idea visually where my cursor is. Zero clue. What about on this page? I've got a skip to content link and then nothing. So it's right now, I believe I'm in the navigation, but there's no way to visually tell. I definitely can't. Oh gosh. All right. Yeah. It's opening PDFs now. So keyboard navigation is a 0. That's 0 out of 100 on accessibility there. But anyway, back to my point. You go to the run page, the gallery can be on this page. This is just the flyer for this thing. Okay. The videos could be on this page as well. You could have put these videos on. I don't need to go to another page to watch the videos for this event. I think having the template and then give me more, like, where's the hero section? Put a hero section with a main photo to represent this run. Give me a description of the run. There's no content on this page. There's 2 photos. It says 6th edition, 5th edition, no information about them. All information is hidden within these other areas, and it forces me to open 700 tabs, and I think all of this can be rethought out. Okay, let's go back. Now we get to our records. And once again, I'm lost right off the bat. I don't know what I assume these are like awards. Like, is that what that means? Like, these are awards we've won or something? But then I'm looking at these and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. About 1,000 runners. I mean, maybe this is mistranslated. Maybe this is just a horrible translation of what's going on here. But I'm just not understanding what this section is about. Here's your sponsors, but it says they support us. Maybe this is another mistranslation again, but I just feel like it should say like our sponsors. Just make this can be very blatant. Doesn't have to be super creative. And then the sponsors, oh no, hold on. Are these singular images didn't I say not to do this? No, okay. They're individual images. They just slide in groups. Okay. All right. But of course, no, look, all I can do is, if I don't have a mouse, I'm screwed here, right? You can't really interact. There's no controls to interact with this slider. Definitely can't use the keyboard to interact with it. You got to have a mouse. I don't know. I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan of the triple row slide. Just very blocky. Feels like a lot going on. Just, I don't know. But this is the kind of thing where you should have a sponsors page. Maybe have a single row strip of carousel that's actually can be, has controls, it can be navigated. And then underneath that, say, view all of our sponsors. And then take them to a sponsors page. Like, do you have a sponsors page up here? Doesn't look like it. No. Contest, contact, news. Nope. Negative, nada. You need a sponsors page because all these sponsors probably want to link to their site as well. Is that what this does? If I click on it? Some of these are clickable. Where do they go? Yeah. Oh gosh, in the same tab. Oh no, that's a good way to just get people gone and never get them back. Those need to be opening in a new tab. But yeah, I would make a dedicated sponsors page for this kind of thing. Okay, let's go to here and see what we got. This is our news page. Yes. All right. Right off the bat, no offense. No offense, but I hate this. I see this all the time. I don't know why this is so popular. Wait, like a card, if you're going to put information in a card, please don't make the card like half the height of the screen. The card should not be this long. I'm not a fan of here's one size photo. Here's a completely different size photo. Here's a completely different size photo right here. And then look what it does to the visual, like, nature of this. Like, we're just all over the place. And then finally down here, I get some sort of like, consistency. And it honestly feels to me like this is some default Elementor stuff going on down here. That's like the default read more Elementor link that I've never even used Elementor, but if I had to guess that you put in like a card element and then these parts were the default, and then you change this stuff up here for the font sizes. You made them bigger, which they're too big. They're too big for the space that they're in. And then you threw in some photos, and because it's just a pre-built element and not much thought was really put into it, it doesn't control aspect ratio of the images properly. I also will say this, I should have mentioned this in the PB 101 images lesson that came out yesterday or the day before. I can't remember. All the days blend together at this point. You do too many live streams and all reality starts to blend together. I'm not a fan of mixing illustrations with photos. Like if you're going to use photo and then, look at this one has text in it, which I also say, never put real text inside of an image. You've got image with text, images, no text, then an illustration with a box shadow. I mean, there's just like, hey, let's put anything and everything in here. No rules, no consistency, no standards. Just this is straight out of like, this is exactly what Bev would do, right? If Bev was like, we need a news section, Bev would hit you with all sorts of different photos, drop shadows going on. Straight out of 1997 drop shadow, by the way. It's just all over the place. No design consistency whatsoever. Look at this one. I don't even know what this means, but it's shouting at me. It's just, there's a whole banner in here, a whole flyer in this one. Just not any sort of design or layout consistency whatsoever. Can I navigate with the keyboard? Anything on this site? Nothing. I can't see anything that I'm doing. Yeah. Okay. So the news, let's see what does your news template look like? Ooh, gosh. Oh dear.
Oh no.
What has happened? What is going on? Okay, let's this is already translating. See what I mean? Oh, hey. Yeah, you don't have to do these things for too long to realize that breadcrumb's not in a great spot. That's the breadcrumb, my friends, and that's what happens when it's a little longer. It gets very awkward. There's just, hey, here's a multi-paragraph breadcrumb. You ever seen one of those? It's the new style of breadcrumb. We don't want this kind of thing to happen. You got to give breadcrumbs a dedicated spot, okay, so that they can stretch out. They got to be able to stretch their legs, my friends. You can't just cramp them up. Because that's a long headline. That is a long headline. This to me looks like a default template as well that just it was never given any love. This template was never given any love. But I mean, look from a visual standpoint of like, what is happening here? Our eyes start around here, right? But then because of this nonsense going on over here, it's like, whoa. And then, it all feels very cramped together. Really, what's the most important aspect of this page? The most important aspect of this page is this, okay? Look at how this is overlapping this visually. And then these things are way too close to like our main content that's going on over here. Got to give this some breathing room. This paragraph and this photo are about to get in a fight right here. Like that is, you got it. Social distance. Where did we not learn anything from 2020? You know, I was social because I'm an introvert. I was social distancing before it was cool. This needs some social distancing right here. This is way too close for comfort. All right, let's scroll down. You know, typical. Yeah, it's just a typical news post. Nothing very exciting there. Oh gosh, you can't be doing this. No, you cannot be doing this. Unsubscribe. This is felonious behavior. This is a multi-year prison sentence right here. Annotate the screen. Look at this. Does anybody in this stream want to read this or try to read this? Anybody? I mean, this is like you just hit them with the straight up wall of text. Just like we don't even, you know what? We don't even have to. Who has time for paragraphs? Who has time to break things into paragraphs? No, time is money. Time is money. Just copy paste. Just throw that text all over that screen. Yeah, we don't need no paragraphs. We don't need to make this readable. All right, we got some photos in here. Okay. I mean, thank God you have photos, because if you didn't have photos, I don't know what this text would look like here. Completely unformatted, no subheadings, just throw a couple lists in there. You know, just no headings whatsoever. Who needs headings? Who needs headings? Who needs paragraphs? We don't need any of that. Just, you know, throw some photos in to separate things out. We're good to go. All right. This is what you call this is just a very low effort template right here. A low effort content marketing, low effort blogging. No links, no nothing. This is a copy paste job, straight up. Okay. Association, basic information. Oh, and here we go. I see this all the time, right? And this is how, you know, people are like, how do you get a site from $2,500 to $7,500 or something like that? Well, the easiest way is just to keep doing work and bill for it. Like, look at this. So we have an actual layout, which, you know, it's not fantastic, but it's not a long page. But when you lay content out with some sort of like thought, attention to detail, effort, it costs money, right? We can all agree that costs money. And so the way that you make a website very cheap is you take the internal pages and you just go, you know what? Fuck the layout. Oh, let's not put any more thought into it whatsoever. Let's just put basic content on a page. That's all we have to do. So all of the internal pages, it's like, who needs design? Who needs layout? Let's just create a basic template, copy paste some text. Hey, that's a cheap website. That's an affordable website. I don't know how you guys do this at $7,500. Well, it's because we put effort into every page. When you put effort into every page, suddenly it's not so cheap. It takes a little bit more time, takes a little bit more effort, a little bit more. Oh God, you just made me download a file. What is this? What did you just have me download? An RTF file. I don't even know what that is. A rich text document. Okay. All right, man. This is a a box of goodies. Membership declaration. That doesn't do anything. Oh, was that the download link? Okay. Oh, you got me going to PDFs, dog, from the navigation straight to a PDF. This is a UX. This is a UX disastrous situation. All right, let's go to English again. There's our runs, contests. I think we've done enough. And this is, you know, this is what it sounds insulting. I mean, look, you could be a professional and go use Elementor and have an outcome far better than this, right? But when I think Elementor, this is exactly what I imagine, right? That most Elementor sites are like. And this is the problem with the Wixes of the world, the Squarespaces of the world, the Elementors of the world, the Divi's of the world. They attract developers, designers, that kind of output this as the outcome. I mean, this is what should be expected from a user of that tool. I'm not saying that every Elementor user is not great and needs to practice, okay? There could be professionals that use Elementor. But what we know for a fact is, they target people that don't really know what they're doing. And so most sites are probably like, okay, it's obvious they didn't really know what they were doing. And that's just the outcome. That's the community that they've built, so to speak. So when people ask me about what do you think of Elementor? And, I just got in a conversation with somebody the other day. We'll call it a conversation. It was a conversation the other day. And, they're trying to tell me, well, actually it was it was a poll somewhere. I saw a poll. Can't remember what group it was in. And it was Bricks versus Elementor. And, they put what's the best builder, but really they meant what's the better builder, Bricks versus Elementor. And a lot of people were like, there's a reason Elementor is installed on 70 gazillion websites. And no, the reason it's installed on that many websites is, one, they got a head start. And let's talk about Elementor. Before there were visual builders, do you remember back? A lot of you may not have been around back then. A lot of you surely have or were, where your options for building in WordPress were literally pasting shortcodes into the default editor. And so the shortcodes did stuff on the back end. You pasted shortcodes in and that created different layouts, right? There were no visual builders. And then you got the Divis of the world starting to come in. You got the Elementors starting to come in. You got and back then it was this is kind of the best we can do. And it was probably really good at the time, right? So a lot of people back then used Divi. There were no Oxygens. There were no Brickses. It was either you custom code your own theme or you use these visual builders that are available to you. And at the time, this is a constant thing that technology goes through progressions. At the time, Divi was a good option. Elementor was a good option because they were the only options. There was nothing better. There was nothing doing it really the right way, right? But they gave you a much better option than what was currently available at the time. The problem is we've evolved so much since then. And the tools now, Bricks, Oxygen, are light years beyond. Elementor never caught up. And the reason they never caught up, they could have caught up, but they decided on targeting a specific market. And by the way, they do this for money, guys. They do this for money. I've explained this time and time again. If all I cared about was money, I would make automatic CSS for Elementor. And then I would try to convince all of you that Elementor is the way to go. I'm trying to convince everybody that the Brickses and the Oxygens of the world are the way to go because they do things the right way. And then I made the product work with those builders because they do things the right way. And then I said, you know what? We can't make as much money doing this, but we could do the education and we can try to convince more people to use these tools and do things the right way. And then we will make more money and we'll earn it. Rather than saying, well, there's a big pool of users that don't know what they're doing. Let's try to convince all of them to buy our product. That's what Elementor has done. That's what Wix does. That's what Squarespace does. That's what Divi more or less does. That's what Breakdance is doing. They are putting a lot of effort into convincing you that presets and copy and paste are the way to go. Right? I wrote a whole article. Okay, if you haven't read this, go to geary.co. This is really good education, right? If you don't really know what the arguments are, presets versus classes, copy paste styles versus classes. If you go in the breakdance community, they are going to try to convince you hardcore that copying and pasting is a great thing and that presets are a great thing. That's a new concept. That's a new argument. They are trying to make let's be very clear about this. And I have to say this over and over and over again until it gets into people's heads. Some people seem to have very thick heads in this space. And I don't know why. It's not really that difficult of a concept. Classes have been around since the dawn of web design, okay? BIM, I teach the BIM methodology for organizing classes. BIM didn't come out last year, my friends, okay? BIM has been around since like 2005. These are proven methodologies for scalable, maintainable, efficient web design following best practices. Presets have just showed up. Presets are new. This is a new concept that came with page builders. Copying and pasting styles in a visual builder, that's a new thing. Okay, so we have classes which have 2 decades of like proven this is how things work, okay? Versus the new concepts. The burden of proof for what is better is on the new things. You have to prove, if you're gonna say presets are better, copy paste is better, prove it. Prove it. Now, I wrote this article because I want to tackle this. And then we have to make a distinction here. Global presets versus actual presets. Now, the builders call these global presets. I believe they're literally in breakdance, it's called global presets, okay? So that's not the same as global styling. Global styling in CSS is not a preset. A preset is a very specific thing. A preset is a collection of styles, okay? So if I, and you know, these are organized into what's called a preset. And by the way, presets, to complicate this even further, presets on the back end assign styles to classes, okay? So the breakdance builder, where they're like, presets are the way to go. Copy paste is the way to go. Everything happening behind the scenes is happening with classes. You just don't see the classes, and you just can't use the classes. If it's not making any sense to you, that's correct. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay, so that's the distinction. I'm not talking, if you want to style, like, I want all of my H1 headings to look a certain way. Well, a builder might call that a preset. That's just global HTML. That's just global CSS styling. That's all that is. You're targeting the HTML element and you're styling it, so they all look the same. It's not a preset, okay? A preset is, in breakdance, you go to this special area, it's a special magic area, and you make special presets, which is a collection of styles for a specific element. You do this in Generate as well. So you go to Generate blocks, there's a magic area. You go to the magic area, and you can create presets for elements. Like you can make a card style. But you can't do that in your normal page builder workflow. You got to go to the special magic area to do that, right? So let's talk about that. You have to exit the page building workflow to go to the magic area where you can create presets. Then you come back to the page building workflow and you can continue doing the work. Why not just do the work in the workflow you were already in using classes? Okay, so page builder global presets are weak, limited, and unnecessary. Let's edit this. I want, because what I love that people think they can come into a Facebook post conversation and write 5 sentences that are trying to convince me that presets are the way to go. When I've written, I mean, you know, they even know, some of them know that this article exists. 2,600 words. You know, there's quite a bit to say about this conversation of presets versus classes. Because if you get me going on a topic, if you really want to debate, you better be ready to debate. You better be ready to have some arguments with some evidence and back it up, right? And so that's exactly what this article does, right? Don't drag me into the debate unless you really want to go, because I can go. And this is it. You want the whole breakdown, point by point by point by point, with examples of how presets and classes are not the same thing. And presets are like, you take classes and you dumb them down and you remove functionality, you end up with a preset. And you cannot do with presets what you can do with classes. That is a fact, okay? So I would encourage you to read this because it's really good education. If you don't understand the underlying philosophies of this kind of stuff and really the line of thinking that you should take when developing a website, this is really good education on that topic. But here's a main one right here. And this is the nail in the coffin. This single argument, I make many arguments with examples. This single argument is the nail in the coffin. Classes are extremely valuable because you can chain them together. A preset, you can only assign one preset to an element. That's one collection of styles. You cannot chain presets together in any builder that I've seen. That's a big problem. That's like a major issue. That's a major issue. So, how do we get around that issue? Well, let's say that the builder was like, well, we'll just let you chain presets together. Oh, will you? Because then it'll be fucking classes. What will be the difference at that point? There won't be a difference at that point. That's the nail in the coffin. If they want to overcome the inherent limitation, they have to admit that the thing that they avoided in the first place is actually the best way to do it. That's done. We're done here. Okay? So there is no winning this argument. It's just you either admit that presets suck compared to classes, or you make presets behave like classes, which is admitting that classes were the best way to go in the first place. And why? Why are we even having this conversation? It goes back to the philosophy of they think the users are dumb. They think the users cannot understand or comprehend how classes work. And it's really not that hard. It's really not that hard. I've explained it ad nauseum. I've taken people who come from Elementor, come from Divi, have never used a class in their life, and I teach them, here's how classes work, here's how they're used, here's how you organize them. And they do that. They actually, in this day and age, it's it seems rare, but it's actually not, where they actually listen and then they apply, and then they come back in a month and they're like, dude, classes is a game changer. And I'm like, exactly. Right? Welcome to the world of classes. And then they realize, doing copy paste nonsense and presets and all of this other stuff is not the way to go. And I mean, really, you could does it pass the smell test, right? Does it really copy paste the styles? That's the future of web design. Really? That's the future of web design. Let me just break that immediately. Let's just immediately put a nail in the coffin of that argument too. Can you copy from one page and apply to every other page on the website? No. If it was a class, you could, but not with just the standard copy paste. You can only copy styles to elements that are on the same page you're working on right now. And if that element exists on a different page, you got to go to that page, then paste the styles, go to the next page, then paste the styles. Nobody wants to live that life. Nobody should want to live that life. Now, if you're working in VS Code, copy paste is actually probably a legitimate thing in VS Code, right? There are developers who code by hand who might make the case that, in fact, Tailwind users make this case all the time. Tailwind users say copy paste the styles. And you know why it's a legitimate argument for them? Because VS Code has multi-cursor editing. VS Code allows you to select information that exists in multiple pages of the directory and change them all at once. You can't do that in a page builder. That is impossible in a page builder. Thus, copy paste is a terrible argument for page builders. So we take our entire philosophy and put it into presets and copy paste. Why? One, because we think users are dumb and they can't do it the class-based way. And two, because if we can convince people that they are dumb and that they can just pick up a tool like Wix tries to do, like Squarespace tries to do, like Breakdance is trying to do, like Elementor tries to do, then we can make a lot more money. Hey, we're happy. We get a gazillion users, and they all make shitty websites. They all make unscalable, unmaintainable websites. But what do we care? Checks cash just fine on our end. That's the situation that we find ourselves in. This whole thing, AI coming out, all this AI integration, it's all convincing people. Hey, you don't need to know how to design. This is the Wix commercial, guys. Anybody can do it. Look at this dad in his polo shirt, just got back from golf, making his website on Wix. It's every commercial. It's like, you don't have to know what you're doing. Come make a Wix website. And they all make shitty websites, of course, because you have like this. It's like if Canon, You know, Canon comes out with a camera. It's like, and made commercial. Like, you don't have to know photography. Just pick up this magical camera, put it on auto, and do that. And that's what people do, right? And then it's like, yeah, okay, I could take photos, but does that make one a photographer? No, you actually have to know photography principles to be a good photographer. You have to do the work. You have to study at some point. You have to practice. Like it actually takes time. We're in highly technical industries. You can't just make a magic pill that everybody can swallow and suddenly they're getting the work done and doing a great job at it. It's just not going to happen. So every tool that tries to make this happen is going to fail. Either the tool is going to fail, or if the tool succeeds, all the users of the tool will fail. That's what's happening with Elementor. That's what's happening with Wix. All of their, not all, okay, not literally 100%. The vast majority are failing. The output is not acceptable. Okay, so that's what we're experiencing right now. Okay, let's go back and check on. Let's see. Haha, no more live streams for 2 months. Okay, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Let me scroll back up. Let me go back to camera here, and then I hope I have to, or I hope I remember to go back to screen sharing if I need to. Okay, let's go up here. Glad I was able to get that off my chest. Design-wise, I would like to see the brand colors more used in the website. So far, the logo is the only color on the screen. Color would help distinguish what's interactive versus what's static media or static meta. That's good. Good comment there. I don't think this website is driven by CPTs as opposed to just straight pages. Probably not. Also, where the rest of the runs. Yeah, that was the other thing that confused me too. It's like, if we have runs that are in the past, why is there only like one of them? I couldn't see any others. How do you know support sponsor images are scrollable? How do you know support/sponsor images are? Oh, you're asking that like how would a user know that they're scrollable? Got it. Anyone know what tool Kevin is using to draw squares and lines on the screen like this? It's something in the Mac app store. Just go to just type in annotate, screen annotate or something like that, and you'll get it. It'll come up. Kareem says this is the normal widget from Elementor. All right. Brutal. Let's see. Site is mixing square and rounded image borders. Yep. Why not? Why not? Damn, better late than never and already a great Kevin rant. Is Kevin being trolled? No, I'm not. I mean, this is Elementor. This is the life that Elementor users live for the most part. I remember having clients that didn't want to have any gaps between paragraphs or elements in pages. I told them about good practices. They didn't want to hear it. Oh, I don't know why some clients think the way that they do. I just don't. Like, where do they get these ideas from? It's like, hey, Mr. Client, 99.9% of the websites on the internet have spaces between paragraphs. Can you explain to me why you don't want them or you don't think it's a good idea? Personally, I love when I browse a website and it randomly downloads files without prompting me. Yes. It feels safe. Don't you feel very safe? Surely that's not a security risk at all. Honestly, I'm just waiting for the stream to switch over to crypto scams any second now. Visual Composer was a thing. Yep. Visual Composer. Was that the first one? Was that the one that really broke into the visual design market? I'm trying to think back, and I'm terrible with dates. I'm terrible with like order of things in dates. But I feel like that was probably the first one, right? Yeah, downloads without permission is an absolute no-no and possibly dangerous. Okay, let's go down. Question: we are moving into the Q&A phase of this. Okay, we did the deep dive, and unfortunately we couldn't dive that deep because we got stuck on some very, very basic things. But then we moved into the rant phase of WDD Live, and now we're into the Q&A phase. So you can start putting your questions in. You can now ask questions on anything. Anything that you want. You want to see a mini tutorial? We can do that. You want to talk business, pricing, sales? We can do that. We can talk about anything. When moving from Elementor to a modern builder such as Bricks Oxygen, do you do a fresh install of WordPress in staging, or do you migrate the current one first and then install Bricks? Really, really, really good question. It depends on the website. It depends on where content is stored in the website. If the website already has CPTs and custom fields and all of that, best believe I'm trying to bring, especially if it was logically done, I'm trying to bring all of that stuff over because I don't want to do all that work again. If it's just every page is built in Elementor and there's no custom fields, there's no CPT, there's no point. There's no point in bringing all that junk over. Just start from scratch, build it right, and move on with your life. Hiking through theme forest to find a theme to use on a website. Damn, I feel so old now. Yeah, that's because we didn't have visual builders. That was like you had to do that. It was either code your own theme or go find one that was already built that kind of looks the way you want it to look and make some CSS adjustments along the way. And that's how you can get it done. I love the idea of working as a community to help others upgrade their capabilities and not be stuck doing things improperly. Yeah, we need to. We need to. You know, there's people who criticize this kind of content. There's people who criticize, you know, first of all, I think if we're professionals, you know, you shouldn't need things sprinkled with all of this sugar, you know, to get your feedback, right? It's like in jujitsu, you know, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Like, you know, give me the facts because I'm tired of getting fucking strangled, okay? And so if you can get a teacher that doesn't try to just be nice to you and tell you you're the best every single day, you know, they'll actually tell you, you know, what you suck at and what you need to get better at so that you can stop being strangled all the time. That's really, really, really beneficial. And so we should kind of treat this the same way. It's like, look, you don't have to sugarcoat it. Just tell me what I need to improve on so I can improve on it. It's just that's the best route to go, I think. And then there's people that criticize this concept of talking about professional standards and there's no definition of professional, and you know, you use any builder that you want to build. And look at our industry. Do you want our industry to be like the used car industry? Do you want it to be like the mom photographer industry? No, you know, no insult to moms. It's just a thing. It's like, there's a bunch of stay-at-home moms that are like, I need to make some money on the side. So they go order a DSLR, and then suddenly they're a photographer. Suddenly they're selling family portrait sessions. Suddenly they're selling, you know, let's do your Christmas thing in a field. And you know what? Most of them suck. You know what? The ones that put in the practice and the time and the effort and they study and they actually care about, you know, getting better and better and better, and they actually submit their photos for critique and then they listen to the critique without getting all up in their fucking feelings all the time, they actually get better. They actually become legitimate photographers. They actually can create a legitimate business. And so, but what did they have to do? They had to get the education from somewhere. They had to get the feedback and the criticism from somewhere. They had to not get all up in their feelings. And then they had to practice and put in the time. There is no shortcut. It doesn't exist. So this idea that we shouldn't have professional standards, we should use any builder we want to build with. If you follow that philosophy, you will end up with a mom photographer, ecosystem. And then when clients come to this ecosystem to try to hire, like, you know, thankfully with, photography, it's like, okay, well, here's the thing. Even in the photography realm, their portfolio, right? Just put yourself in the shoes. I'm trying to find a photographer. I'm not a photographer, but I'm trying to find one. And all I have to gauge whether they're good or not is testimonials, which are easily faked, and a portfolio. So then I scroll through the portfolio, and you know what happens with a lot of amateur photographers, right? They'll go to workshops, or they'll go to, and this is good. Thankfully, they're getting coaching, they're getting education and so on, but they go to workshops, and people at the workshops help them take photos. And those photos are actually decent because they were at a workshop. And they, by the way, they had a professional model, and somebody else set up the lights for them. And then, they were, but you know what? Those photos end up in their portfolio as if they created these things out of thin air. And then people hire them going, these look pretty decent. And then they show up at the shoot and they actually don't know how to do all those things themselves. And so the photos don't turn out that great. Client kind of ends up screwed. This happens in the web design industry all the time, right? The portfolio looks great. And we don't even realize, oh, I worked on part of that website. I didn't actually do the whole thing, right? That's a lot of developers, right? They were hired by an agency to do this one thing. And suddenly the whole website shows up in the portfolio. And then clients hire based on this because the client doesn't know any other way to judge. So you really can't. So what happens is we have an industry where we start to get a bad reputation because so many hires have not worked out. It's like you hire the person and, oh, they didn't do a good job. It sucked. I didn't end up getting what I wanted and what I needed. It's not scalable. It's not maintainable. It's built in Elementor. And we see this all the time. Client comes to us and say, hey, we had a website built. It's been 6 months now. It's not done yet. I can't get in touch with the developer anymore. Can you take a look at it and just let me know what it would take to finish it? Do you know how many of these inquiries that I've gotten of let me know what it would take to finish it? Because the other dude I hired flaked out. And then I have to be the bearer of bad news because I open the website. I already know. If they flaked out, I already know what it's going to look like. And so I open it up and there it is, Elementor. And there it is, dog shit. And there it is, no CPTs. And there it is, no framework. And there it is, no nothing. Nothing that should be there. No site architecture, no nothing. It's just, hey, Elementor got started, saw the commercial, here we go. And, this is what, $1,500 lost now, $2,000 lost now. And I have to come back and say, there is no finishing this. This is not going to happen. We've got to start over. I'm sorry to break this news to you. This has to be all redone from scratch. And, sad story. It happens all the time. That is the industry we currently work in because there's no licensing. And I'm not advocating for licensing. I do not advocate for licensing. I don't want a government to come in and try to assign people to things. I don't want any oversight. I don't care. I don't care about any of that. What I want is everybody to acknowledge that professionalism is important. And that if our industry is seen as more of a professional industry with more professional players than amateurs, right? Masquerading as professionals, we will all do better. We will all make more money. Our clients will be happier. Everything will elevate. If we continue to argue for no standards and we continue to argue for use whatever builder you want to use because the code output, no, you know how many times I've seen the client never sees the code? What? So that's the grading scale? That the client never sees the code? Like, how is that the grading scale? How is that a measuring stick for anything relevant? Like, the person, you make that argument, it's instant dismissal. Your mouth is moving. You're not saying anything important. You're not part of this conversation, okay? You've just made a completely irrelevant statement. So I think that's the crossroads we're at right now. Do we want this industry to be seen as a more professional industry with more valuable players? Or do we want it to be an industry where everybody does whatever the hell they want and they use whatever builder and again, I'm not asking for any oversight committees or licensing or anything else. I'm asking for leadership. Just if there are leaders, please step up and stop telling people to use any builder that they want and do things the way that they want. Whatever makes you feel good is the vibe right now. And I don't think that serves us and it doesn't serve clients. And it's not working. It's not working. How many sites that get submitted for WDD Live blow you out of the water? How many of them? I'm not handpicking I'm not being like, where's the worst ones that I can criticize? I'm giving you what are submitted. That's what I'm not even giving you the worst of what are submitted. Like I'm giving you the best of what are submitted. Okay, so let that sink in for a second. And this is what clients are getting. This is what clients are getting. So you tell me, is it working? Is the model of do whatever you want, use whatever builder you want, there's no standards, nobody should define professionalism. Is that model working? I think it's pretty objectively clear that it's not working. And these same people are the ones saying, you don't have to use classes. You can copy paste. You can use presets. Pre-built elements are the way to go. This is the sales pitch from that same group. The group that's saying, hey, professionalism is important, scalability, maintainability important. They're not the ones arguing against the 2 decades of best practices that are proven effective. They're the ones saying, no, try this new method. Well, why is this the new method? Is this the new method because it's better? No, it's the new method because most users are dumb. And this is the best method for them. They can't understand classes. So we made this new method, but it's actually, if you just give it a moment, you'll actually like it too, I think. And then so I give it a moment and I think about it for more than like 8 seconds. And I'm like, well, that's kind of a big limitation. Oh, that's kind of a roadblock right there. Well, why would we do it that way when we already have a way that works even better and doesn't have these limitations? Why are you trying to sell me a new process when the old process is clearly better, objectively better? That's what this spells out. Okay, it's not just me saying, well, my feeling is that it's better. No, there's objective reasons with evidence as to why it's better. And that's the thing. You'll see this, people lose the argument immediately with me when they're like, you just think it because it's your way. No, it's not my way. I didn't come up with BIM. I didn't come up with CSS. I didn't come up with classes. I didn't come up with any of this stuff. I learned it. I've tried it this way. I've tried it this way. I understand what the underlying philosophies are. I understand the finish line that we're trying to get to, which, by the way, is not how fast did I build the website. That's not the finish line, okay? The finish line has some very important things that we have to think about. But what will these builders, these copy-paste preset builders say? You could build a website super fast. That's not the finish line. That's not the measuring stick, right? How about a logo designer? Do I hire a logo designer and I go, clock's ticking, buddy. See how fast you can get that logo done? No, I want him to go through his process. I want him to sit on the fucking beach and just look at the sky and dream up logos or whatever his creative process happens to be. If it takes a month, if I get what I want, like I look at his portfolio, I'm like, that's amazing, right? I want that kind of stuff, okay? Do whatever you need to do to make that kind of stuff happen. That doesn't involve a timer. Put him on a timer and you're probably not going to get what you want, right? So what is this focus on, like front end speed of like, how fast can I get it built? Now, once you have a process, BIM, scalable, maintainable, you're using a framework, maybe you're even using frames. You vetted a tool that gives you a legitimate shortcut. I said this in one video. It's a very important distinction. There is a difference between taking a shortcut and cutting corners. That is a very big difference. Those are two opposite things. Taking a shortcut gets you to the correct finish line faster. Cutting corners means you didn't do things the right way. You got there faster, but you didn't do things the right way. I use the baseball analogy, right? We can run faster around the bases. There's ways that we can run faster, but we got to touch the bases. You can't just skip across the pitcher's mound. Like, I'm on my way to first. Oh, no, I'm just going to cut corners here. I'm just going to go across the pitcher's mound. I'll touch third. I won't do first and second. I'll touch third, then I'll come straight home. And it's like, but dog, you're still out. You didn't touch the bases, right? That's the game. Like, we have to play the game still. So scalability is a base. Maintainability is a base. Consistency is a base. There's all these things that are important. These are bases you have to touch. And so if you just speed past them, you just pretend like they don't exist, and you're like, well, I got there quick. It's like, but you created dog shit. And nobody can maintain this, and nobody can iterate on it, and we can't do anything with it down the road. So that's the situation that we're in. I would really encourage you, once you read the details of this article, it should be a light bulb moment for you. And I just want to reiterate, the reason they're pushing presets and the reason they're pushing copy paste is because that allows them to sell to a gigantic market. It is not because, I don't care what they say, it's not because it's a better workflow. It's not because it does you any benefit. It seems like it because copy paste feels easy. What is the law? Hold on, let me put it in on. I'm gonna pull this up. Tony, my guy Tony, he referenced this. I can't remember. I don't even want to look it up. I don't want to spend the time looking it up. But what the law says is you're going to get 90% of the way into a project with a tool. Like you choose a tool, right? Like let's say Breakdance, Element, or whatever. There's no way to know how impactful the limitations of this tool will be until you're 90% of the way into the project. You're 90% of the way, then you realize, oh, those are quite big limitations. And now you're too far in. You're pot committed, okay? And that's a big problem. Now, if you have a lot of experience, right? Like I've been doing this over 20 years, I can not start with the tool. I can just look at the underlying philosophy of the tool, and I can go 90% of the way into this, we're going to realize that this ain't going to do the job, right? There's going to be significant limitations to this. And I don't have to fall into the trap, okay? But remember, they're going to try to convince you, and they are doing and this is not just breakdance. The Elementor people will do the same thing. The Wix people will do this. They will tell you, not every website needs that. Not every website needs that. And it's like, okay, but what is this concept? This brings me to the next tangent of what is this concept of choose the best builder for the job? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. So they'll be like, well, you could use Bricks for that professional website, but just use Elementor for this one over here. So now I have to learn two builders and two processes. Remember, Elementor, I've made this argument before. Breakdance, make the same argument. You have to learn the language of the builder. Why? Because they don't use the language of web design. They do things differently. They've pioneered the approach, right? And so if you want to learn Elementor, you have to learn the language of Elementor because you can't take the language of web design. Even if you're an expert at web design, you can write HTML by hand, you can write CSS all day long. Maybe you can even write JavaScript and PHP. You open Elementor, you can't do shit without learning Elementor. You've got to learn how they want you to do things because they've chosen a separate path. They've chosen a path that is supposedly beginner friendly, which means that if you know what you're doing, it's actually quite difficult to use Elementor because you're forced to use beginner level concepts like that really don't fit the application. Like make me a grid in Elementor, like a real grid. You'll even see this. In fact, I like GeneratePress. I like it as a tool. Like I like a lot of the things that they've done. Let me open it. This just grinds my absolute gears. And I don't think Generate is the only one that's done this, but I got to tell you, man, this absolutely grinds my gears. So I've got a Generate install right here that I can pull up. If I remember that, I believe it was Generate. I don't want to throw them under the bus if it's not them. But where's my local install? It should not be taking this long. Let's go. I need some music to play. Let's close this. We're done with that. Come on. What is going on? There we go. My gosh. All right. So let me go to pages. Let's just go in here. Oh, no. There we go. Grid. Let's just do this. Edit. Okay. Add, generate blocks, grid. This grinds my absolute gears. Let's just choose a simple one. Okay. Is this a 2-column grid, guys? Is this a 2-column grid? Let's inspect. Text. Oh, paragraph. God, I hate Gutenberg. I can't do anything right in Gutenberg. Where did my element go? Stop it. Okay. Is this a grid item? Publish. There is no excuse for this, in my opinion. Inspect. Div. Okay, here's the grid wrapper. What does that say? Let me highlight that in case anybody's confused. What is this? This is a life sentence. I mean, maybe they could be rehabilitated. We'll have to see. We'll have to do some. We'll have to do some meetings. See if we can let them out at some point. This is a lifetime sentence. The idea that you are telling a user that they are adding a grid to the page and the grid doesn't use CSS grid. So if I'm a developer and I'm like, I actually know what I'm doing, and I'm like, oh, grid. Yeah, I want to add a grid. Let's go. Let's add a grid. And it's Flexbox, which, by the way, has tremendous limitations over actual CSS grid. They're not even in the same, guys, this is why grid was created, because Flexbox can't do what grid can do. So the idea that you're telling me I'm using a grid when I'm not actually using a grid, that is like the ultimate felonious behavior. Okay, so does that bother anybody else? Does that grind anybody else's gears the way that it grinds mine? Should this be happening? Do we all agree that this should not be a thing? And it's like, people will criticize because it's like, do they think I'm just like being mean or something? I'm not being mean. I'm just trying to describe reality without a bunch of sugar on it. I could sit here all day long, just be the amicable guy. They're like, oh, let's just all get along and, use whatever you want. And, some meek little grandma, like, that's not what the industry needs. That's not going to get us better tools. That's not going to get us better clients. And none of this is mean. I don't dislike anybody personally. I don't hate anybody personally. And in fact, I would say, like, I do this to automatic CSS. I do this to my own tools. I will open frames and, I maybe one of the first frames that I put together, I'll go use it on a page and something won't be right. And I'll be like, what the fuck was I doing? What was I doing here? Like, I call myself a chump half the time, right? But at the same time, I recognize that, like, standards are important, and like we have to continue to try to get better, and we want our tools to be better. And I, for one, don't want my tool. I just don't want to buy into a tool that thinks I'm an idiot. I think the reason I've done certain things with automatic CSS is because I don't think the users are idiots. Constantly, I'm like, no, we're going to do it this way, because there's always the argument of how can we make this more user-friendly? And if we can keep things the way that they're supposed to be, but make them more user-friendly, I will get on board with that all day long. If we have to cut corners to make it user-friendly, or we have to say, no, users won't know how to do that, so we have to just take a completely different route, we're not going to do that. You know what I will do instead? I will make more education. That's the solution, is make more education, not dumb it all the way down to where we're working with nonsense. And that's unfortunately what's happened. And I'll go back to this. It's not because they can't do the education. These are talented developers, right? The idea that Lewis is not a talented developer is that it's not even in the realm of my thinking. Lewis is a talented developer. Lewis cares more about money than your education and your end product that you're providing to clients. I'm not even convinced. I mean, this is a very hard argument to make. I have a very hard time. Now, I don't know. Let me back up, because I don't know what Lewis's history is. I don't know if he's a page builder developer and that's all he's ever been, and he developed other software before that and yada, 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 yada. Or if he was a web designer who actually did work for clients, right? And then got into the page builder development world. I don't know what his history is. I don't know what his story is. But I have a really hard time believing that anybody that's actually done real client work with websites, with web design in the real world, and who understands the fundamentals of HTML and CSS would argue that a dumbed down version called presets and copy paste is better than classes. I have a hard time believing that. So it's very possible maybe he didn't do any client work. Maybe he's a software developer, doesn't have a lot of experience in the web design world. That's very possible. I don't know. But if he does have experience, like a lot with HTML and CSS, I just have a really hard time believing that's an authentic argument. And so the guy that built Oxygen, are you kidding me? The guy that was the builder that really opened the door to class first workflow. You can do whatever you want. This is a powerful tool. Has suddenly gone the route of presets are better, copy paste is better. You know what I think? Here's my conspiracy theory. That's suddenly the better method because the whole Elementor market is now in front of me when I say that. Look at that. Look at that. I can get all these people. Look at all these people. I can bring them in. And they're morons. They're idiots. We know that's how Lewis thinks, right? He's said that before with actual language, okay? He thinks they're idiots. And so he's like, hey, idiots, come on. Give me your money. Here's some presets. Here's some copy paste. Looks just like, the whole Elementor workflow that you know and love. It's right here. We just made it better. That's the whole pitch for breakdance. It's a better version of Elementor. Why? And he said it too. We can't make money. Go watch the live stream. He was on a live stream where he said, we can't make that kind of money with Oxygen. He also said, all the people who bought Oxygen LTDs, I don't care what they think because I already have their money. Go watch the live stream. So my conspiracy theory is presets and copy paste is the new kid on the block because that's the market we have to sell to. Why? Because they're all idiots and they can't understand classes. Pretty sure that's the argument. So I just happen to think that that's wrong. And I happen to think that, it's objective reality that classes are the right way to go, considering that's like the core of all things CSS. Just this idea that you can just shit on like 90% of what CSS is and be like, no, our way's better. Copy paste is better. And limited classes called presets that don't do what classes do, that's better. I mean, wow, what an argument. What an absolute argument. Which I also, by the way, let's go here. Let's go to the blog. Let's go to, where did was it an article? Did I post it somewhere else? Maybe I posted it somewhere else. Or maybe I talk about some of that in here. I do a lot of writing, so it's hard to remember what's in what article. I think it's in that article, though, but I talked about some of that in there. All right, I'm sorry. This has been lots of ranting and not a lot of questions and answers. So I don't even know how we got stuck on this. Let's go answer some questions. Okay, let's settle it down. I would take a sip of water, but I don't have any. So, yes, VC was the first one. Can you change Bev and Fred's clothes and hairstyles in AI? Why? Why would we do that? They're perfectly dressed. After seeing PB 101-013, can you show the settings for media in WordPress and also if anything should be set in bricks as well? I can't show you short pixel because it doesn't obscure my API key. So I can't do it on a live stream. Every time I go to the settings, it's going to show my API key. But I can do it I've done it in a video before. If you go watch my blueprint for bricks video, I show every setting in short pixel. The only thing I don't show is how to serve WebP on Nginx servers. And I will do a dedicated tutorial for that because a lot of people are on Nginx and there are a few extra steps. So I'll do a tutorial on that. Question, I use Oxygen, been loving your videos. What is bricks and do you prefer it over Oxygen now? My only issue with Oxygen currently is that when you add a text block, it's a div, not a p tag. Okay, so what is bricks and do you prefer it over Oxygen? Bricks is a class first page builder with clean code output that more or less allows you to do anything that you want to do and follow best practices. Oxygen is a class-first page builder that allows you to do anything. You can follow best practices. It's great as well. Bricks currently is the #1 page builder for WordPress. Not in sales numbers, not in a lot of irrelevant vanity metrics, installs. Okay, like the whole installs thing is a fraud. But sales numbers, size of community, interactivity in the community, number of educators, content creators. Bricks fails all of these things compared to Elementor, compared to Divi. Why? Because that was kind of my original point, was they all got a big head start. Unfortunately, they never kept up and they targeted the wrong people in the wrong way. And now they're dog shit tools. But, Bricks is the #1 page builder in all of the metrics that matter. See the difference? Okay. So Oxygen is #2. Then we look at the Quicklies of the world and things like that. trailing behind if they can. Sorry, I got to go back to. There's no reason to have generate up, but if generate can make a few important moves as far as doing something in Gutenberg goes, they could be on my list, right? Generate is not something I've written off. I think that mistake that they've made with Grid is absolutely atrocious. But I have not written them off. I want them to succeed. I want them to be a great Gutenberg alternative. Okay. Even though I'm about to be in the Gutenberg market, I want Generate to be successful. I don't care who's successful. We can all be successful, right? So you'll never see me talk bad about a thing just because it might be a competitor. What you're always going to hear is, here is 2,500 words of why I think that's not the way to go. People, they will by default assume that I'm just saying that because I have a tool over here. But that's why I put the effort into the arguments. Maybe we could just read the arguments and all act like adults and, use logic in our brain, and then we can have an actual conversation about things. That would be nice. I would love that. Wow. Okay. So Bricks number 1, Oxygen number 2. As far as which one you should choose, well, in a lot of ways, it's personal preference. I will say that somebody asked this question in the Bricks community, can we get a comparison table between the features of Oxygen and the features of Bricks? And that's impossible because they share almost all the same features. What the difference is in the depth of the features and the user experience of the features. So I give a prime example. They both have query loops. Oxygen has a repeater. Bricks has the actual query loop. Bricks' query loop is exponentially superior to Oxygen's. It can query more things. It can query users. It can query taxonomies. It's easier to use. It is placed on an individual element instead of being its own container. It is, movable around the page. You can move things in and out of it without breaking it. Oxygen may have improved those things since then, but point stands. They both have the same feature of a query loop. Bricks is exponentially better. Dynamic data, Bricks is exponentially better. Templating, Bricks is exponentially better. They have the same feature set, some of this may be my opinion, but guess what, guys? Do you know how many hours I've spent in Oxygen? This is not let's just give it a cursory glance and then have an opinion about it. I have spent countless hours in Oxygen, and now I have spent countless hours in Bricks. That's got to stand for something. Right? So if you're like, well, it's just your opinion, but there's a lot of objective reasons why my opinion is the way that it is, right? So you can't just dismiss it as everyone's going to think something different. Go use it. And by the way, I said when I first started using Bricks, I was like, I don't see how this workflow is going to be faster because it was some of the aspects of it. Now it's gotten better since then. Granted, that was back in early stages, right? Some of it was just a lot different, right? How you add classes to elements was slightly different workflow, and it felt a little slower at first. Then I realized, keyboard shortcut. Okay, now it's much faster. And I realized a lot of other things became much faster. You want me to tell you something I was dead wrong about? Here's something I was dead wrong about. I criticized Thomas when he came out with the, there's Bev again. All right, no, it's my mom, just kidding. Here's what happened with Bricks. When I came into Bricks, there was no div element. There just wasn't one. Okay. I think they had a section and they had a container. No, maybe I can't remember exactly what it was. Maybe it was the block that they had. Section and a block. Maybe that's what they had. And I was like, we need a div. And, man, my brain is terrible with the order of how things have happened. But I know they didn't have a div. And I was like, look, every page builder's got to have a clean div. That's a fundamental. It has to happen. It's a box that has to be checked. And I put it in as a feature request. Then I just cheated. I cheated, as I often do. I went into automatic CSS community. I went into the inner circle community. I mean, we're talking thousands of people. And I was like, please go vote on this. We need it. And then they all rushed in and like, yes, we need a div. And then a div appears. But a div just didn't appear. It appeared with some other things. It appeared with, here's a div that is a literal div. Then here's a block. And the block is going to be set to display flex by default. And it's going to be 100% wide by default. And then here's a container, and then here's a section. So we went from having I think if I remember correctly, there were 2 elements. We went to 4 elements. I only asked for 1, but we went from 2 to 4. And then I was thinking to myself, it was the block that I criticized, where I was like, I don't think we need a default flex 100% wide container. Because I was like, we can just do this with the div, right? A div can be a block if it wants to be. So why do we have this extra thing? It just feels redundant. That was kind of my argument. But then I started building sites with it, and I didn't say, you know what, I don't like the block, I'm not going to use it. I just started mixing in the block with the div. And then suddenly I realized this speeds up workflow a lot to have a pre-done block that already, because I don't have to set display flex on it myself. I don't have to set it to 100% wide myself. I don't have to put a class on it. I can just add it to the page, and there it is, and it just does a specific thing. That's actually really useful. And that's that's what page builders should do. It doesn't have any negatives. It only has positives in the situations that you need it in. And then I went back into Oxygen to edit a site. And I added a div because there is no block in Oxygen. I added a div, and that's the moment it really clicked where I was like, damn, I wish I could have added a block there. Because it'd already be 100% and it'd already be set to display flex. Because let's be honest, let's say you're creating a card. Creating a card in a grid. You add a div. You add a heading and text and a button. You can't use gap in the div. Gap won't work. Why? Because the div is not display flex. Okay? So you've got to go set it to display flex. It's an extra step. Now you can use gap. Okay? So you see. And then if it needs to be 100% wide, it's not going to be by default, because even though the div is a block level element, well, it's getting very technical now, isn't it? Even though a div is a block level element, which should be 100% wide by default, it is not 100% wide because it's in a flex container called a section. See, the sections and containers in Oxygen are display flex by default, which makes block level elements not behave as block level elements. So there's certain things the page builder does that it's like, oh, okay, well, that's not so great. Or maybe it is. I don't know. It actually turns out that it's not that big of a deal breaker. It's actually a little bit of a shortcut, like a cheat code, to have these things set to display flex by default. Again, because they don't have to be. You can set them back to block if you want to. You can set them to inline if you want to. You can set them to whatever, because the builder gives you control. Because the builder doesn't think you're a moron. So it gives you these kinds of controls, right? Builders are like, no, this is built for morons, so we're going to hide all the technical things. We're only going to show the really basic things, and then we're going to make things in a different language, like plain language versus technical language, because people are too dumb to understand the technical language. And and then you use a builder, and you get 90% of the way through a project, and you're like, oh man, there's significant limitations. It's like, you think it wasn't built for somebody who wants to do what you do. It was built for a dummy. to slap a page together and not worry about all the things that we worry about as professionals. There's this, here's a really perfect example. Somebody asked me what I think about this. There's this thing called Framer. Okay? Here it is. Imagine building a website in Figma, but you can hit publish and then it's real. Mind-blowing. And it's easy for beginners to use. Look how easy we've made it. Look at this. Look at this. You don't even need to know Flexbox. Just choose your little icon right here. How do you want to align this stuff? Right? No labels, no nothing. Just point and click. Point and click, point and click, point and click. Ooh, stack, grid, direction. These are plain language, right? Anybody and their mom, come on down. Use some Framer. And you're going to see content creators making endless videos about Framer, I'm sure. Look how amazing this is. I opened Framer. See, if I can break it in 5 minutes, is it that great of a product? So I opened Framer because I already knew. Well, that's very interesting. You're not making people put things in divs and containers. You're letting them put things wherever they want. Like it's Figma, just drag shit around, and wherever you want it to go, it'll go there. And then we'll handle the code on the back end. We'll handle all that part. You just focus on dragging and dropping things, right? So I go into Framer and I'm like, oh, this looks like fun. And I just start dragging stuff around and putting it down. And then a very simple layout. I hit publish. And then I went straight to the DOM. What a fucking disaster. What an absolute nightmare. No, not a semantic element to be found. Nothing is in a section. No, it's all divs. Everything is a div. Nothing has proper tags. Nothing on the back. Nothing that matters on the back end has been accounted for. But how could it? How could Framer know what you're doing, just dragging around things and dropping them? How could it know? It's just auto-generating code based on what you're giving it visually. But there's much more than just the visual aspect of what we're doing. And so accessibility, no, out the window. SEO, like actual code structure when Google crawls a site. I mean, how's Google going to know one thing from another? No figure tag, no section element, no nothing, right? So I went to the video and I commented and I was like, this is hilarious. I commented because I was like, I said something about like interesting tool. Unfortunately, the DOM is an absolute nightmare. And you know what the first comment was? What's a DOM? And that's the user base. And the question is, can you take that user base and actually get them to create something that's acceptable? Now, somebody's going to criticize, well, what do you mean by acceptable? Well, look, if my mom is building a website for her bunco club, then anything is acceptable. Who cares? But if I call up my mom and I'm like, hey, Mom, how's retirement going? Oh, well, Kevin, you won't believe this. I decided to do a little side hustle. I sold this company on a $2,500 website. I'm going to have some more spending money this month. Oh, what are you using, Mom? Oh, this new thing called Framer that I found. Oh, great. I got to phone that company up and be like, fucking run, right? Like why are we giving people tools and saying, you don't need to know what you're doing. Just use this tool. It's like magic. And then we look on the back and it's like, but it's a disaster. Where's the value there? Does this make our industry better? Oh gosh, I'm doing it again. You didn't need to see it. Don't worry. You didn't need to see it. It's just this. That's all I'm showing. So does this make our industry better? Does this make any of us more money? Does this make clients trust us more? What does this do for us? That's my question. It's becoming a shtick that I don't share the screen when I'm supposed to be sharing the screen. Maybe that should be a thing. And then all of y'all can get t-shirts and says, show me the screen. We can have show me your DOM, show me your screen. Okay. Hey, Kevin, about BIM. I made a BIM. What time is it? I don't even know. 30 minutes left. All right. Oh, I missed one. I want to add an icon in my buttons and bricks in ACSS, but can't find a way to link the icon to a utility class and end up adding the icon manually to every button like a chump. Any solution? I think what you mean is maybe change the icon with a utility class. Like if you want to say button and then button check mark or button X or something like that, and that swaps the icon. You can't do that. You can, but I don't know. So you would have to use like a CSS background image for the actual icon instead of putting a physical icon in the button. And maybe that's a route to go, but then you would be able to change it with a class. If it's just a real physical element, you can't change it with a class because classes don't change HTML. So you would have to go the background image route with that. Hey, Kevin, about BIM. I made a BIM for cards and wrappers and image and text. Then I thought an accordion would be better here, but then I need to copy and rewrite every class. Feels chumpy. Tips. Okay, so you made a card with an image and text, and then you thought, okay, so you just named it card, right? Okay, here's let's do this. Let me open this install right here. You want to know another phenomenon? So again, we say, what's the difference between oxygen and bricks? Well, this seems like a small thing. I mean, it seems like a small thing, but it's actually a really, really, really big thing. Hey guys, I'm sharing my screen. Look at that. It's fantastic. So let's go with classes. Publish. Edit. So here's the situation you found yourself in. Section, let's go with like grid 3. Let's go with grid gap. Not grid ga, grid cap. And in bricks, hey, it's so easy to just go, oh, I don't need that anymore. Can't do that in oxygen. Now you got to go to the classes magic organization area, and you got to find the class, and you got to delete it there. And okay. A little faster in Bricks to just delete it. Now you're going to put in a card, right? Which is going to be, a block. Hey, there isn't a block in Oxygen. A little bit less efficient in Oxygen, but here's my block. And now you're going to call it like my card. Okay. And then you put your things in. By the way, right here, I just want you to think, should I give a sneak peek of this? Should I even let competitors know? I can't do it. I was about to tell you how this workflow right here is about to be kind of revolutionized. And it's going to become, BIM is going to become so much faster in a page builder. My gosh. Okay, let's go add this. So you added BIM classes to all of these things, which I can do right here. So it's my card, double underscore. I'm going to copy that to my clipboard. And then you're just saying heading. And then you're just saying, hey, this is text. And then you're saying, that's really just a button action. Doesn't even need a BIM class. And then you do all your styling. And then you're like, you know what? This shouldn't have been a card. This should have been an accordion. And so you're faced with these all saying my card. I think this is the problem that you're presenting right here. So I can click this little pencil. Instead of my card, I can say my accordion. And guess what? All of the styles, see in Bricks, guys, this is a fundamental difference. In Oxygen, I agree. You are Fucksville. You've got to delete all those classes. All your styles go, well, you could dance. You could do a dance. You could dance by copying styles from one class to another. So you make the new classes, copy styles from the old class to the new class. I get it. You can dance with it, all right? But in Bricks, the class name is just a visual reference, right? In the backend database, they're all actually assigned unique IDs. So you can actually change the class name without losing the associated styles, just like you would be able to do in VS Code, right? So you can change the class names in your HTML, go over to the CSS, change the class names to match, and your styling all stays there. It's great. Same kind of workflow in Bricks. So I select my card, I come in, I just name, instead of card, I say accordion. All my styles are going to stay here. And then I just do that for every element. It's slightly chumpy. But Bricks is also coming out with a class manager where it is probably going to be possible to do all that bulk. Okay, but that's how you do it. See, but if you're in Oxygen, much less efficient workflow for doing something like that. But I mean, I saved it, right? Now it can be an accordion and all the classes make sense. I think that answers your question. Okay, have you tried the plugin UserWay for usability? Some clients think it's great, but I believe it creates more problems. I think you mean for accessibility. What is UserWay? Yes. No, don't use any of these. These are terrible. To the accessibility community, these are basically like, no, that's a middle finger. Like you've made the website worse in a lot of cases by using these accessibility overlays. So no, accessibility has to be done by hand and it has to be done the right way. There is no magic pill for accessibility. Okay, what's the best way for freelancers to get their foot in the door? How do you find these business owners Google Maps? Listen, I'd never done this before in the past. I've always gotten my business via other methods, but I wanted to do some PPC trainings and tutorials, and I've done PPC for other clients in many other different industries. I've just never done it in web design. But I was like, you know what I'm going to do? Because I just like to experiment. I like to play around and I have to create these tutorials anyway. I was like, I'll teach how to set up a Google Ads campaign and I'll just do it for my agency and we'll see if we can get some web design leads. And I did like the bare basics and I got a $15,000 job and I got a bunch of leads that turned into a little bit smaller jobs and it happened pretty quick. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fun. It's interesting. So, I mean, you could literally go with PPC, with a good landing page and a decent PPC campaign. You could be getting clients in 72 hours, right? Now, it took a little bit longer than that. And, you know, for that $15,000 job, I think that month I had put in $750 into Google Ads. It's pretty good ROI. So, yeah, you could do it with PPC. Now, in the inner circle, I have a video called the top 3 ways to get web design clients fast. And so I would recommend going to watch that video for sure. One of the ways is PPC, but there's 2 other ways that are really important. And they're really important for getting ongoing work and work that you PPC is like, the unfortunate side of PPC is you have to have some money in the bank. The other two methods don't require money in the bank, but PPC does. The downside of PPC, you have to be willing to potentially light, $1,000 to $2,000 on fire. And I get it that not everybody is in that situation. They just can't do that. They need that money to pay bills. They need that money to put food on the table. It's just not a viable option. It may be an option down the line for them, but right now they need other methods. So that video covers 3 methods. 2 of them do not require money, and 1 does require money. But yeah, foot in the door, that's where I would start. I would start with those 3 methods. Question, sticky sidebar, mini tutorial. Could you quickly show it with ACSS? Last week you did it in vanilla bricks. It's really not that different. You would use a utility class for the grid instead of writing out the grid instruction. And then, I guess we can do it. It's just kind of the same tutorial over again. So let's do grid 2.1 because that's going to get us that kind of, see, it's already got the little sidebar structure there. Still use grid gap here if I actually selected the element properly. Let me sit up in my chair. Okay. I was lounging. It's getting late in the stream. Let's add our 2 blocks. There's our block. This is our channel for the sticky element. So I'm going to put another block inside of that. And then this will be my grid. I'm just going to label these so everybody knows what they are. This is like the body of the content. This is the sidebar. This is the sticky. Okay. And then, so what we need to do is we need to go to website Ipsum. We need to grab a bunch of this copy because a sidebar is only a sidebar if there's actually a lot of stuff next to it. So we're going to go with a rich text element, and then we're going to put that in there. Perfect. And I'm actually just going to paste it again. That way we can actually, maybe I'll paste it again. I'm a large screen. We got to make sure we can scroll down the page. Look at this. The text does not reach the edge of the container. And this is caused by automatic CSS. And people have said that, hey, this is broken because automatic CSS is preventing my text from reaching the edge of this container. And I'm going to show you guys why this is happening. We're going to go to automatic CSS right here, typography, text line lengths. On this particular install, I don't want any of my text getting wider than 70 characters because after about 75 characters, you lose readability. You start making users break their neck going left to right, reading stuff. And there's a lot of science behind it. Harms conversions. It harms how much of the page they're going to read. It harms a lot of things. And so people see this and they're like, I don't want that gap there. And I'm like, exactly. You should have used a better layout. This is alerting you to the fact your text should not get wider than that. So this is alerting you to the fact that you have a layout problem, right? You should do better things with your layout. Now, if I styled this up, I solved the problem immediately by putting this text in a container, putting a little background color on there, dropping some border radius on there. Now it looks like it's supposed to be this width. It only looks bad because I haven't styled the container. Once you style the container, you're good to go. We're not going to go through all of that. But this is not an error. This is alerting you to you created an error with this layout if you don't do anything else beyond what you've got going on here, right? Because the text should not get wider than that for proper readability. Okay, just wanted to point that out. All right, so our sidebar here's our sidebar right here. Notice the sidebar is not a sidebar. It's not stretching. Well, we need to tell it to stretch. So I'm going to put a stretch class on. Now the sidebar is stretching. See, it goes, now our channel is complete. We have a channel for this sticky block to move up and down in. So now I'm going to add a heading. Notice I haven't written any grid instructions. I didn't need to know what flex stretch was or how to apply it or anything. I just need to know that stretch is a thing, and I need to be able to type the word stretch, right? So this is better for a beginner that doesn't know how to write the CSS. You're able to work faster if I wasn't sitting here talking the whole time. So there's a lot of benefits here. So now what I want to do is I want to make that sticky. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to say sticky. Can I write the word sticky? And there we go. We see that it is sticky. Now, why? Let's go over here. Okay. Why is there a gap there? Well, there's a gap there because I have in ACSS settings, this is an option, turn it on or off. Do you want an automatic offset from the top? Well, I said yes, and I set the offset to what I wanted it to on this particular install. And it was probably because I was doing something else this is a whole testing install. This is not a real website. But that's why that's happening. You could set this to 0 and then you'll have no offset whatsoever. But what a lot of people do when they're doing something sticky, like if I did not use this class, watch the mistake see, if you don't really know the CSS, very easy to make this mistake. So I go to Style, Layout, Position, Sticky, because I know I want it to be sticky. And so I choose sticky. Now, Bricks has a little alert, but I'm going to ignore that right now because Oxygen doesn't have that alert last time I checked. And so what the hell? I set it to sticky. Why is it not being sticky? How could it not be sticky when I asked it to be sticky? It's not anything else. It's not block. It's sticky. It's not absolute. It's not relative. It's sticky. Well, it says right there, you have to set a top value for this to be sticky. Well, in automatic CSS, we were like, well, this is a shortcut. It's not cutting corners. It's just a shortcut that you don't have to use one of the sticky top classes. You can just say sticky and it's automatically going to set a top position for you. That top position is controllable in the dashboard. It can be 0. It can be whatever you want. It's 100% flexible. You can do whatever you want with it. But that's just one step to make something sticky instead of 2 steps, because real sticky is set it to sticky, then go change the top position to 0. It's got to be something, right? So it's 2 steps in a normal builder, 1 step with automatic CSS. But that's it. We just created a sticky element right there. All right, let's go down and let's see here. When Kevin proposed his ACSS style sheet, copy into Oxy style sheets manually, it was mind-blowing. Now I can't see myself without ACSS and frames. So easy to build sites the correct way. Yes. And let me bring it back to automatic CSS I said this yesterday. If you're in the ACSS live stream yesterday, then I'm going to say the exact same thing. My biggest problem with frameworks is that they were too limiting. And this is the old argument. People here, they'll make this argument still, but it's no longer a real argument. They're too limiting. You're right. They're too limiting because you can't change the values. Nothing is mathematical. Nothing was fluid responsive really in most frameworks. So automatic CSS said, not only are we going to make things fluid responsive, not only are we going to make things user adjustable. See, Darwin remembers in the very early stage of ACSS, you actually had to go in the style sheet and make changes, but at least you could. It was user adjustable. We then said, we're going to give people a visual dashboard. And so we were the first framework to have a visual dashboard where users could dial in the framework to exactly what they needed. And it's going to have a color system in it, and it's going to be fully tokenized. And there's not going to be these limitations that there were in other. So you can no longer say, we shouldn't use a framework because it's too limiting. Because ACSS has no limitations whatsoever. If it did, I wouldn't use it myself. That's why it is the way that it is, because I had to be able to use it myself. And so I needed it to not have limitations, and it doesn't. At least not any that are measurable or, significant of any kind. Okay. What is the best solution to dynamically display data in a table from a CPT? That would be, let me get the name of it. I'm so bad with names. Where is it? It's in my other folder. I'm on my other screen, so you can't see what I'm doing. WP data tables. So you're able to whip up a table. You don't create tables with grids. Don't create tables with Flexbox. Tables need to be tables. And so if you do WP data tables, you can quickly whip up a responsive table. You can query CPTs in it. You can do pretty much everything you need to do. I can attest to what Kevin is saying. I submitted a client site weeks ago and he hasn't reviewed it yet. It's probably bad. What other frameworks are available for Bricks Oxygen? Oxy Ninja, which was abandoned and is now coming back as core. It's an unfortunate reality. Automatic CSS more or less killed frameworks in the Oxygen ecosystem. There's Oxy Props. I would say Oxy Props is the number 2. And I fully respect what Oxy Props has done. I like them as a competitor. It's not a proprietary framework. It's simply an integration. The Oxyprops was not created by, like, the props side of Oxyprops was not created by the developer of Oxyprops. Automatic CSS is a completely, like, thought through from scratch for page builder workflow, for scalability, for maintainability, for best practices and current standard. Like, it was thought through from scratch. It was not built off of anything, right? So almost all the other frameworks that would be that would be what I would say good about Oxy Ninja. Like, as far as I know, when it was around, it was built from scratch. It wasn't like, let's base it off Tailwind. Let's base it off this. It was built from scratch. But automatic CSS came in and, it quickly, like, dominated, right? The Oxygen and Bricks space. And so unfortunately, a lot of them went away. OxyMade was around. They went away. There's just a lot that have come and tried and failed. So it is what it is. But yeah. Crockford's Law. Yes, that was the name of the law. Thank you, Justin. Okay, I have to admit, I do use copy and paste in Bricks. The thing is, I know what the classes are on those elements, and they match up to my overall style sheet, so surely that's okay. I mean, honestly, I don't even know how the copy and paste in Bricks works. I don't use it, and I don't know exactly what it does. But if it just copies, if it keeps your class structure the same and just copies I don't know how it would work. Like, does it add the classes to the elements? I don't know. I'd have to investigate it. I've just stayed away from it because copy paste is not a workflow thing that I'm interested in. Okay. A lot of these are from the rants. I got to scroll through. These are all rant comments. Yes, all about the money. Okay. Most website builder users are not developers, so it makes sense to target the kind of people if you're developing one. It's not, though. That's been my argument. It's not, it doesn't make sense. I mean, yes, it makes sense to target them. It doesn't make sense to build a builder around them. That's my argument. Webflow. I don't use Webflow. It's a closed system. It's not a WordPress, but can we give them props for a minute? And this also proves my argument. Okay, let me do this again, because people, heads are a little thick in some areas of the industry. Webflow market cap. Right. So $4 billion valuation. Can we all agree that's not peanuts? Okay. So what Webflow did is say, designers, all of you amazing designers who don't know web development, we have a tool for you. It's called Webflow. You can easily monetize with it. We are going to make it possible for you to go from your beautiful designs to a website. But here's the thing. You're going to have to learn web development. So what we're going to do is we are going to pour millions of dollars into education. And we are going to help you. We're going to hold your hand. And we're going to get you to know what you need to know to build sites in Webflow. Now, do they build, like, according to the most amazing standards? Some of them. A lot of them, not really. But at least Webflow didn't try to dumb everything down and treat everybody like morons. Webflow is a technical builder. They targeted designers. They taught the designers how to do things. And they are valued at $4 billion. So don't tell me you can't make money doing things the right way. It's an argument that is objectively proven false. Hope I wasn't unclear. Okay, let's see. See, as soon as someone tells me, don't look at this other workflow and definitely don't compare them to classes, seems bold. Are you saying I'm saying don't look at other workflow and definitely don't compare them to classes? Because I compare them for you. And you're free to do whatever you want to do. If you want to go copy paste your freaking heart out, I don't lose any money, right? Doesn't create any inefficiency in my workflow. If you want to use presets, hey, has no effect on me. I don't care. What I don't want is the leaders, the quote unquote leaders saying, we don't need standards. It doesn't matter how you do things. Do whatever you want. Use whatever builder you want. Because that doesn't do any of us any good. What that does is it devalues the industry, and it makes clients, it's harder to find people that know what they're doing, and it's harder to find people using the right tools. So that has a lot of downsides. And it's a lie. It's a lie. It's not true. Why consider Oxygen at all when you can't trust the company to continue to support something that's not going to make them money? Well, I mean, I don't know the financial situation of Oxygen. I also like Elijah. Let's keep in mind that Lewis has more or less, from what I can tell, stepped aside from Oxygen. I like Elijah. Elijah's a great guy. Elijah's a talented developer. I want Elijah to be successful. I don't want Elijah to go broke. I don't want Elijah to not be able to put food on his table. I want Elijah to turn Oxygen around. I want Elijah to bring back good PR to Oxygen. As long as Lewis stays away from it, and stays away from the people creating content for Oxygen, because that was a big problem as well. When it wasn't just the I feel like people try to argue this and they've never watched that live stream. They don't have any idea what was said in that, and that live stream is still up. And I would encourage you, if you're considering, investing, I would watch the live stream before that. And then there are some people that watch the live stream and are like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Da, da, da. I mean, did you not hear what I heard? Maybe I read through lines a little bit better. I don't know. But it was pretty bad. And in one of those things, he said, content creators for Oxygen have more or less done nothing for us, which is an absolute lie. Absolute 100% lie. So he's dissing content creators. It was a disaster. Rightfully so. I mean, they were treated the way they should have been treated after it. So yeah, and by the way, what's funny? What's amazing? He's recruiting content creators for breakdance. Yeah. All these people that didn't help Oxygen one freaking lick. Guess what? They're all going to come in. Now we need you. We need you for breakdance. Oh my gosh. I guess people don't keep score. I keep score. Right? If you don't want to keep score, don't keep score. If you feel like going through life without keeping score is like I just don't worry about these problems. I just don't worry about these things. I'm all positivity. Roses and rainbows and unicorns. That do you, right? It would probably help my blood pressure. Probably help my, if I didn't keep score. But my brain just keeps score by default. It does. And, I track these things. I notice these things. I can read through lines fairly well. I have an extremely honed in bullshit radar. I have an extremely honed in fake radar. It is what it is. And so, I just got to say what I see. Because nobody can argue that he was right about that and that he's right to say Oxygen creators didn't do anything. And he said it to the face of a content creator, actually a well-respected content creator on that live stream. Right to his face, basically said, you didn't do anything for us in that live stream. And then to turn around and try to recruit content creators for breakdance, does anybody think that's a viable position to hold? It's up to you. It's up to you what you want to believe. Okay. How much time? 60 seconds. We're going to pack it in. Okay. We can turn this off now. Okay. No, I made like 8 cards. That's 8 times 6 times new classes since the card class was already in use in another page. Yeah, if you got that far into, well, no. Hold on. It depends on if you have to change the HTML structure. If you have to change the HTML structure, then you got to go change the HTML structure. There's no way around that. If we had global components, proper global components, then you would be able to easily fix that. But we don't have that in Bricks. We don't have that in Oxygen. Only Webflow has that. I've been asking for it though in bricks, and I've been asking for it in oxygen. So we'll see. Advanced Themer has a class renaming feature. Okay. But yeah, I mean, like, is it a bulk class renaming feature or is it the same thing that Bricks has? Question. Could you comment on what you feel makes, this is a really good question. Nulty Music. Fantastic question. Could you comment on what you feel makes a website effective at converting? Maybe a few of the do's and don'ts. Would love to hear your thoughts. All right, here it is. Here it is. We don't have to have an extensive conversation about this. There are two things that make a website effective at converting. Two things. Number one, copy. Number two, offer. You don't need any design. You don't need any accessibility. You don't need any best practices. You don't need any classes. You don't need nothing. You need copy. You need an offer. Websites can look like dog doo-doo and still convert like gangbusters with good copy and a good offer. To the right audience, and I think this is what people, some people actually make this argument. They're like, well, my sites convert well. I don't need to care about classes and da-da-da-da. And it's like, but that's not the only thing we're worried about. It's not the only thing that that's not the only box we're trying to check. Because there's many more important things beyond conversions as well. But if you break it down to what converts, honestly, it is two things. It's copy and it's offer. Guys, are we going to pretend like sales letters don't exist? That the whole marketing industry thrived on sending people physical white papers with copies and offers? And that was the entirety of marketing before the internet, like that kind of direct response marketing. You can do that. That same principle applies on the web. You could literally create a blank white page with amazing copy and an amazing offer and run ads to it and make millions of dollars. You don't even need a website. So those are the two things that convert. Now you start to bring in a bunch of other elements and we can start to accomplish other things, right? But honestly, if you boil it down and you don't want to have a conversation any further, copy and offer, you've got to nail copy and offer. You have to. If you don't nail copy and offer, then you're screwed. Doesn't matter how beautiful it is. And how many best practices there are. And how many classes none of the other stuff matters. And I try to tell clients this all the time. And I'm like, look, we're going to check all these very important boxes. And this is what I say about the whole idea that somebody's going to hire a web designer. I mean, that's just laughable in itself. So I've tried to make this point. When a client is looking for web design, what they're really looking for is a whole collection of things, which, by the way, is why we do WDD Live. You have to understand, guys, if you want to make more money, you have to understand this. They're not just hiring you for web design. When they say, I need a web designer, what they're most often saying is, I need somebody who can put a website together that's beautiful, but also grows my business. They don't know they need to ask for a copywriter necessarily. They don't know they need a UX designer necessarily. They know web design as a visual website, an end result, and that's what they call it. They call it web design. But there's so many other disciplines. They don't realize they need SEO. They don't realize that you can make the most beautiful website with the most amazing copy, and if it doesn't rank, or you don't have a social media strategy, or you don't have PPC or advertising dollars put into it, it's going to sit there and do that. Zero. Nothing is going to happen. So clearly, hiring a web designer didn't do them any good. You have to be the one to step up and say, Mr. Client, you're going to need this whole laundry list of things if you want this thing to meet the goals that you said you had. And now you sell them those things. And now you make more money. And this is why if you're a pixel pusher is somebody who listens to what the client says and they just do it, regardless of whether the client's right or wrong, whether the client knows what the hell they're doing or doesn't know what they're doing. Pixel pusher just pushes pixels. A pixel pusher is a detriment to a client. Like if you're doing the work of a pixel pusher, you, my friend, are doing the client a dramatic disservice. We already know that most clients don't know what they're doing. And they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they should be doing. So the idea that they're going to give you direction and you're going to follow their direction, this is laughable. You could absolutely do that and be amicable and be like, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Like you're in the freaking military, right? You're just licking boots all day long. And then the client gets what they wanted and it does that. It does zero. It does nothing because none of the right pieces are in place because somebody who didn't know what they were doing managed this project. So, and you were an accomplice in that. So when they get sentenced to 10 years, you're going to get at least 5, right? You got to go to rehab. And that's what I'm doing. I'm taking people to rehab, right? We're doing the work right here to make sure that you are not going to prison. So yes, copy offer. That's how you get people to convert. All right, I'm doing one last question. This might sound like a dumb question. Can you break down what the offer is exactly? Okay, this is a good follow-up question. All right, so let's think about this. Let's think about any real-world examples that can just come to the top of my head. Okay. Let's use Framer. Let's just use Framer. Okay. Because an offer is a lot of things beyond what people might think that it is. Okay. Where's the offer here? Let's just do a pop quiz. Where is the offer here? This is part of the offer. Start building your site for free. Upgrade to unlock more features. This is part of the offer. What else is the offer? Most people would say that's the offer right there, Kevin. You're offering to let people start building their site for free. You're offering that they can pay more if they want to at some point, if they decide they want to unlock more features. That sounds like a solid offer. But really the offer well beyond that. Guys, this entire product is the offer. So think about it this way. You have a world where people build websites in Webflow. People design websites in frames. The offer is we're going to let you build websites using the Figma. I'm sorry, I said frames. God, I got frames on my mind. They design websites in Figma. So the offer is we're going to let you build your website in a Figma environment, and we're going to let you do it for free. And then you can unlock more features if you decide you want to. And there is a gigantic group of people that already work in Figma. And then they take what they do in Figma into Webflow or into Bricks or into Oxygen or whatever. And Framer's offer is you don't have to do all that. Just do what you normally do in Figma, and then it's live. That's the offer. The price, how the pricing structure is done, that's only part of the offer. Now, if we changed this part of the offer and we said, hey, it costs $1,000. Well, a lot of people are going to be like, that's not such a great offer anymore. So this impacts the offer. It is an important part of the offer. But we could also change the other thing where this says, hey, we're just like Webflow, but better. That's a shitty offer. And you know what? We're just like Elementor, but better. That's a shitty offer. That's a shitty, yeah. If we're grading marketing offers, that's a shitty offer. This is actually a good offer. But now we see a difference between offer and execution. So the offer was fantastic. Hey, you're doing 2 different workflows. We're going to offer you one workflow, and it's going to be super affordable. That's a fantastic offer. The question is, can you execute on that offer? And visually, they can execute on the offer. But if we inspect under the hood, we find many. Am I doing this again? I am so sorry. I really apologize. We're getting a producer. That's what we're going to do. We're going to solve this problem. We're going to get a producer. This is all I was showing you right here. So it was just a pricing table. So that's part of the offer. But the whole actual offer is this. I was just going back and forth between the homepage to highlight everything they're talking about, the core of the product, the reason it exists, the mission behind it. That is the offer. This pricing, only part of the offer. That's it. If you change this, the offer could get bad. If you leave the pricing the same but change this, the offer could get bad. But these things combined, that's a gangbusters offer. That's a really, really, really good offer. Anytime you find yourself or your client going, well, we're like them, but better. That's a shitty offer. That's such a lazy ass offer. And you got to do better. You got to do better. So you look at what is the offer of frames? What is the offer of automatic CSS, right? Again, identify what the offer is. It's not just the price or the call to action. A lot of people feel like the call to action text is the offer. And these are all just little parts of the offer. If you developed a good product or a good service, that is what you are offering people. And the problem is, let's use a restaurant as an example. 2 different restaurants. So we've got restaurant A, sushi restaurant B. If they both have the same food, the same experience, the same process, they're not offering anything that people don't already have access to, which by default kind of makes it a shitty offer. Because it's like, but why you? I mean, I could get it over here, or I already had it over here. Like, you're not doing anything different. So there's this concept around us locally of a revolving sushi restaurant. I think that's what they're called. So you go sit down and there's this conveyor belt and it brings sushi by you, like all these different types of sushi, and it's all enclosed. So nobody can touch it unless you buy it. So like as it's coming by, you can stop the conveyor belt and you can open the lid. The minute you open the lid, you bought it. And then you can take it out and then you can enjoy that sushi. And then it keeps rotating. And then you eat that one and you're like, oh, I want to try that one right there. But pause it, take it off. You bought that one. Good. And you eat it. This restaurant is offering a dramatically different experience for people who enjoy sushi. It's not the like, here's a coupon, right? The people would see a coupon in a coupon magazine for that restaurant as the offer. But really the offer is, I'm offering you a completely different experience here. That's the core of the offer. And I think that's what people just don't understand in marketing land. When they think the coupon is the offer or the call to action is the offer, there's nothing better that you can offer somebody than a fantastic product that does things differently. And differently means better in most cases. If differently means worse, like presets, like copy paste, that's a shitty offer. That's why I'm not buying that offer. It's a shitty offer. But if you do things differently and it's better, like when there wasn't an Oxygen that's why Oxygen was so successful, because there wasn't one. There wasn't another builder like Oxygen. That was a great offer. Hey, do you know what you're doing with web development? Here's our offer. It's called Oxygen. Okay, so hopefully we see that, right? That's the distinction between offer and then your copy comes into play. Can you accurately describe your offer? Can you make it sound simple? Can you really break it down and communicate it well? Can you build a narrative around it? Can you speak to objections? Can you speak to emotions? And by the way, I mean, let's just go take a sneak peek, and then I got to get out of here because I got work to do. We go into Inner Circle. We go down to maybe sales and closing. Let's see. No, we are in Discovery is right here. Here you go. Offer Messaging Masterclass. This is a almost 90-minute masterclass on copywriting. It's prep for copywriting, preparing for copywriting, preparing for getting your messaging on point, preparing for selling a product or service. It has a workbook that goes along with it. And I will tell you this right now, guys, let me translate the value of the Inner Circle. There are already people who have taken this PDF and this 90 minutes of training, and they have sold. Why is this in the discovery folder? Because you sell this as a service to your clients. Hey, Mr. Client, we're getting ready to build your brand new website. Are you a copywriter by chance? And, Bev says, no, we're not a copywriter. Oh, okay, good. Just checking. Well, if you're not a copywriter, you're going to need one, because copy is the most important part of the website. And if the copy is not good, your website's not going to perform very well. So here's what we do for clients. We do this offer messaging discovery session where we sit down with you and we're going to lead you through a series of questions, and we're going to help coach you during this. And at the end of this, what we're going to have is a game plan for what the copy on your website needs to say. The narrative, specific bullet points, selling points, objections, overcoming things, all the important stuff. That's what we're going to have by the end of this session. Well, how much does this session cost? Well, here you go. Put whatever price you want on it, right? So you could say, well, we do this for $1,500. We do this for $5,000. If this is a company that's going to have a ton of different pages and they make millions of dollars, there are agencies that do just this kind of thing for tens of thousands of dollars. So there are already people. It doesn't matter. I don't care what price you put on it. You paid $20 to get into the inner circle. There's one PDF and one 90-minute training right here, and this is just one of many, where you could really take action on it. And you could go make $1,500, $2,500 a pop. Easy. That's the bottom. Easy. Client by client by client by client by client. And there are already people who have done it. And there are already people who have shown me what their client says. So they take this PDF, they spend 2 hours going through this workflow with their client who paid them $1,500 or $2,500 or whatever it happens to be. And then afterwards, the client is like, that was amazing. Like, nobody's ever done this for our company before. We've never thought about any of this stuff. And they can actually use the outcome of this session, not just on their website, but in their advertising, online and offline, in their email marketing, in their social media. It can change the game for how they're communicating their products and services. That's one training, one PDF that's putting tons of money in your pocket if you just take action on it, putting tons of money in your client's pocket if you just take action on it. This is just one example. This one thing, right? And you see, look, go read all the comments. Go read all the experiences, okay? If you're passing up this kind of value, I don't know what to tell you. But this is like very, very actionable stuff. And it greatly, greatly, greatly matters. That was the final question. I do want to thank those of you who have been here this entire time. Absolute rock stars. And I get it. You could be doing other things. You could be building. You could be working on client stuff right now. But there are sometimes there are nuggets where it's just like, wow, all right, that's going to change the game for me. And that's what I try to do these. That's the whole point of doing these streams. I like nothing more than when people come to me and they send me an email or a DM or whatever, and they say things like, Kevin, last year I was doing sites for $1,500 and I made a whopping $37,000 last year. And this year I'm on track to break $100,000. And my average project is like $7,500. And that, because they've literally changed their life. And when it's somebody in a different country, maybe a developing country, and like they're getting money they never imagined, they've never even seen, like, that's why all of this exists. And then the products is helping people with their workflow, making their life easier. And that's why none of this feels like a job to me. And it is why I take it seriously, right? Because I know what the impact I'm having is. And what I also know is if somebody goes off into these other lands, into the, do whatever you want. Use whatever page, we don't need professionals. We don't need this and that. It feels to me like you're missing a big opportunity. Like, oh, that's a person, I could have had an impact on, but now they're off doing whatever jokester stuff over here. And maybe they don't get the outcomes that they could have had. That feels a little serious to me, you know? So I do my best to put out the best possible content I can, the truth as I know it right now. I've said many, many times, I am committed to, if I give you the wrong information on something, and somebody can, instead of calling me names, instead of being like, just blind dismissals on not, if you can put forth a reasonable argument with evidence, and I can be like, yep, you're right. That I was wrong. I will put that out all day long. I have no problem with that whatsoever. I've done it in the past. Okay, so I have no problem with that whatsoever. The problem is, we're getting to a point now where the debate is happening so much and they're just not able to do it. They're just not, when we talk about classes, they're just not able to do it. And so they just come up with empty concepts like, you're just saying what you say for money. Am I? Oh, okay. I'm just saying what I am for money. That's why I'm not going after the Elementor crowd, the gazillions of dollars sitting over there. That's why I'm not going, because I care all about money. So they just talk nonsense. That's what they do. Okay. But I was saying, you guys are rock stars for sticking around. And I was saying the value you're getting out of this is, usually higher than what you could get elsewhere doing other things. But if you have a client deadline, please don't miss client deadlines to be on these streams. That would be the only thing, right? Go serve your clients and then come back when you have time. And you can always watch the replays. That's the other thing. You can always watch the replays. You don't have to catch it live. But for those of you who stay live, you guys are rock stars. I'm out for today. I'll be back next week. Thank you guys so much for being around. I love you. I'll see you soon.